A difficult truth often presents itself, yet it must be spoken. A profound sense of unease touches the great majority of souls in their later years. This is not a topic for casual conversation. It isn't found in the noise of the world, but in the quiet moments of solitude. It gnaws at the spirit. If you are journeying through your 5th, 6th, or even 7th decade, you possess the wisdom to reshape your path. If you choose to be present today, allow me to ask a simple question. From where in the world are you lending your awareness? Let your city be known in the space below. I am curious to feel how far this stream of thought flows. And as you are here, perhaps press the like button if you feel ready to live in harmony with yourself. If this is your first time here, consider subscribing, as the insight we are about to explore may gently alter the landscape of your remaining journey. Now, bring your attention here. This is not about the past you cannot change. It's about the present over which you have domain, and how to reclaim your inner stillness before it feels distant. Through quiet observation, one learns to see the currents that guide human lives, but no observation is as potent as seeing how people reflect on their existence in its final seasons. And here lies a deep insight many overlook. The single heaviest burden carried by our elders is not financial. It does not relate to journeys untaken or material things unacquired. It is more fundamental, more deeply woven into our human heart. I will share the nature of this burden, but not yet. Because first, you must understand this. There are subtle choices you make each day that are carving the riverbed of your future self. Each dawn, a thought may arise. It is too late for a new beginning. What can possibly change now? This must be the way things are. But is that truth? Or are they merely stories we tell to shield ourselves from what we have long ignored? Permit me to share a reflection. Picture a person who followed every societal expectation. For over 3 decades, they provided, they cared for family, they were a pillar of their community. All the outward signs of a life well lived were there. Yet, in a moment of quiet candor, they might express, I honored all the rules. I was seen as a good person. But now, I sit in my own home and feel as though I am fading, unseen by the world around me. My deepest ache comes not from what I have done, but from what I never allowed myself to be. This sentiment echoes across countless lives. The names and circumstances differ, but the spiritual conclusion remains the same. And that is what we shall explore together. What creates this feeling of a life unlived, and how do we find our way back? Now, here is something many of us forget. To age is not to diminish. It is to distill your essence, to gain a clearer vision of what truly matters. If you are past 60, this is not the sunset of your influence. It is the dawn of your clarity. You are finally at a point on your journey where you need no validation. You have nothing to prove to anyone. This means you are finally free to inhabit the life that is truly yours. But the world does not often share this wisdom. Society may whisper, your time has passed. Advertisements may focus on comfort and retreat. But seldom does anyone look you in the eye and say, you still carry a purpose. Your wisdom is a medicine the world needs. So I will be the one to say it. Your journey is not complete, not even close. So you must ask yourself, are you flowing with life, or are you being carried along by habit? Do you awaken each day with a clear purpose? Does curiosity still flow through you, or have you allowed it to become a still pond? Because the answer to that question holds a significance you cannot afford to disregard. Now, allow me to pause and ask you directly. What is one aspiration you still hold in your heart, but have not yet acted upon? I invite you to share it in the comments. Be honest with your inner self, for to acknowledge it is the first step toward embracing it. In the moments that follow, we will delve into the profound shifts, the tangible practices you can begin today to ensure this great unease does not become your story. We will speak of the subtle forces that drain your vitality without you even noticing, how to connect with purpose when you are retired or feel alone, and why connection to others is more nourishing now than ever before. And finally, soon I will share the one profound regret of the vast majority of elders, and how you can be free of it forever. But first, let us discuss something even more fundamental. What if your small, daily patterns are quietly weaving the tapestry of your life's final memory? Let us turn our attention there now. Allow me to ask you something for your deep consideration. How do you spend the first hour of your day? Not what you once did, or what you might tell others, but what truly unfolds. For that first hour reveals more about the direction of your life's current than almost anything else. We often believe that deep sorrow comes from immense mistakes, but in truth, it arises from the smallest of choices, repeated day after day without presence, not nourishing the body with movement, not extending a hand through a phone call, not feeding the mind with a new idea, not taking that walk in nature, not beginning the heartfelt project, not speaking words of kindness, not remaining a student of life. The tragedy is that these are all within our power to change. Think of a soul who found themselves in retirement. They once shared with me, "I imagined this time as one of ultimate freedom, but instead I find myself simply adrift." Adrift. That is a word to be mindful of. You do not feel the drift while it is happening. It masquerades as ease, as rest. But what is truly occurring is that your days lose their form and your sense of meaning quietly erodes. I ask you to hear this with your heart. Comfort is not a substitute for purpose. You can have a peaceful home, warm food, and quiet surroundings, yet still feel as though you are slowly becoming invisible. So here is the challenging inquiry. Are you drifting, or are you navigating? Now, I want you to envision a bridge in your mind. On one side stands your life as it is today. On the other, the life you feel you were meant to live. The version of you that feels fully resonant and awake. Most people stand on one side, waiting for that bridge to appear. But it does not work that way. You build the bridge yourself, one intentional act at a time. Here are 3 simple practices I have seen bring life back to people, especially in their later chapters. 1. Cultivate one spark of curiosity each day. Curiosity is the breath of your mind. Ancient wisdom and modern science agree on this. Embracing new learning in your later years reshapes the mind itself. It sharpens memory, brightens your inner state, and contributes to a long, vital life. Read one page, ask one question, watch something that expands your understanding. Inquire into something you have always wondered about, but never gave yourself permission to explore. Curiosity does not wither with age, it withers from disuse. 2. Nurture one genuine connection a day. A kind message, a warm call, a shared cup of tea. We often forget the immense power of being the one who initiates. The sense of being disconnected is not just an emotional wound. It is a physical one, increasing ailments of the heart, mind, and spirit. You do not need to wait to be sought out. You can be the source of connection. Your presence might be the greatest gift someone else receives today. 3. Conclude each day with quiet reflection, not with scorekeeping. Before you rest, ask within, what brought me a moment of joy today? What did I learn? Whose spirit did I lift? This simple practice transforms your day into a story of meaning, no matter how simple it was. For in the end, life is not measured by the size of the moments, but by how deeply we inhabit them. And listen, I know a part of you may be thinking, I am tired. I have given my entire life. I have earned my rest. And yes, you have, but there is a profound difference between deep rest and giving up on yourself. You did not journey this far only to cease your inner growth. You are not a vessel meant to be docked in a harbor. You are a living stream of wisdom. The days may feel long, but the years feel incredibly short. So if you are going to devote your remaining years to something, let it be something that makes your spirit feel alive again. Permit me another question. Honestly, when was the last time you felt a quiet, inner pride for yourself, truly for you, not for your children, not for your partner, but for you? If an answer does not come easily, that is perfectly fine. It simply means there is more within you waiting to be expressed. There are more chapters of your story waiting to be written, and perhaps you walk a path of faith. Maybe you pray. Allow this to be a reminder the creative force of the universe is not finished with you. If there is still breath in your body, there is still purpose in your being. So, pray, reflect, and then move. Take one small action each day that aligns with the person you still have the potential to become. Because here is the hidden truth. Regret does not arrive in a single storm. It seeps in through quiet mornings where nothing changes. It gathers in empty afternoons where we choose solitude over shared presence. And one day you awaken and wonder where the seasons went. But that does not have to be your story. Not if you decide, in this very moment, to return to your own center. We are moving deeper now into something many overlook. The quiet trap of seeking only safety in later life, and how that leads to the very source of unease for so many. Let me share an insight that may at first seem strange. Seeking only safety can become a source of great danger. Now, I understand you have earned your tranquility. You have guided your family. You have met your obligations. You have weathered many seasons in your health, your finances, and your relationships. So the desire to remain in a safe harbor feels natural, does it not? But here is the paradox of life. The more we cling to the familiar, the more we invite a slow, inner stagnation. Not just in the body, but in the spirit. Consider it this way. The mind has a natural tendency to conserve energy. It will guide you toward what it already knows, what is easy, what poses no perceived threat. But a life of meaning is found just outside that zone of comfort. Not in chaos, but in a state of healthy, mindful expansion. Just enough to remind yourself, I am still growing. I am still here. I remember a man I met once, a retired soldier, incredibly disciplined, steadfast. But after he left his structured life, he said something that I have never forgotten. I became so skilled at surviving that I forgot what it felt like to be truly alive. He had his routines, of course. He walked the same path each morning, prepared the same food, sat in the same chair each evening. But his eyes lacked a certain light. Not from age, but from a lack of newness. You could feel he longed for more. Not for more possessions, but for more connection to life itself. So I asked him, when was the last time you did something that made your spirit feel both nervous and excited? He chuckled as if I had suggested he walk on water. But then he grew still and said, perhaps that is the heart of it. Nothing makes me feel that way anymore. That was the moment of awakening for him, and perhaps for you as well. Inner growth always carries a subtle vibration of the unknown, which some might call fear. But this feeling is not a signal to stop. It is a signal that you are on a meaningful path. It tells you that something important is at stake. So here is a question for you to contemplate. When was the last time you said yes to something you did not feel entirely ready for? Not something reckless, but something that invited you to expand your inner world, a new skill, an opportunity to serve, a conversation that required courage. Because here is what many do not see. At a certain age, the true risk is no longer failure. The true risk is the quiet sorrow of a life lived in avoidance. And I wish to challenge a pervasive thought pattern. It's too late to begin. This is an illusion. The founder of a famous chicken restaurant began at 65. A celebrated painter began her journey at 78. Listen, I am not suggesting you build a global enterprise. I am suggesting that it is never too late to begin something that breathes life back into you. This is not about outer success. It is about inner vitality. The kind of vitality that keeps your heart open, your mind clear, and your path meaningful. You might be thinking, but I am not a great inventor or artist. That is not the point. You do not need to do something monumental to live with purpose. You simply need to awaken each day, willing to engage with life. Let me offer a simple, practical frame for this. Call it the cycle of conscious action. 1. Expand. Choose one small thing that expands your world, even if it feels a little uncomfortable. 2. Show up. Do not wait for a feeling of confidence. Confidence is the fruit of action, not the seed. 3. Reflect. At the end of the day, note what you learned about yourself from the experience. 4. Repeat. Tomorrow, try something with slightly more expansion and repeat the cycle. Because you are not simply passing the time. You are consciously shaping the person you are becoming. Now, allow me to ask something from a deeper place. If you knew with certainty that you only had 5 more years of life on this earth, how would your daily existence change, starting today? Would you write what is in your heart? Would you share your wisdom with the younger generation? Would you mend the connection that has been broken? Why do we wait? What makes us believe that tomorrow is a given? One can learn this from observing the great traditions of warriors and monastics. They train and live each day with the awareness that any moment could be their last. And because of this, every moment holds immense weight. Every word, every choice, every single breath. But you do not need to retreat to a mountaintop to live with this kind of presence. You simply need to remember that time is a precious gift, not a guarantee. Your life is not an afterthought. You are not simply watching the final credits of a film that has already ended. You are in your most awakened years because you now have the wisdom to understand what is truly essential. Relationships over noise, wisdom over opinions, contribution over applause. And if you are a person of prayer, this is the season where prayer finds its legs. Prayer is not a place to hide from the world. It is a call to rise up with a clear heart. The life force did not bring you through all these decades simply to have you sit still. An ancient text says, "They will still bear fruit in old age." That verse is a reminder that your season is not over. Your voice has value, your story holds wisdom, and your choices beginning today can shape a legacy of love and presence that continues long after you are gone. So why am I sharing all this with you? Because the one profound regret shared by so many elders is connected to everything we have just explored. It's not wealth or travel or status or even relationships lost. It is something you still hold the power to change this very day. And in just a moment, I will share with you exactly what it is and how you can ensure it never becomes the story of your heart. Stay present with me. This is the moment our journey has been leading to. We have spoken of the quiet habits. We have spoken of the aimless drift. We have spoken of the illusion of absolute safety. But now it is time for the heart of the matter. Let me share this truth with you, with clarity and with compassion. The single most profound regret of the vast majority of our elders is this: they did not live a life that was true to their own inner self. They lived a life that was expected of them by others. They remained silent when their spirit longed to speak. They hesitated when their heart urged them to step forward. They chose the approval of others over their own authenticity. They chose comfort over their unique calling. And now they sit in the quiet, not because their time ran out, but because their courage to be themselves was never fully embraced. Let that settle into your awareness for a moment and ask your deepest self, am I living the life that is truly mine? Not the life for my superiors, not for my children, not for my parents, my community, my history, or even for my fear. The life that is truly yours. I once sat in quiet contemplation with a soul in her 82nd year. A widow, she lived in a small, peaceful home. She shared this with me. I spent my entire life trying to be what everyone else needed me to be, but I never once asked myself what my own spirit yearned for until I no longer had the vitality to pursue it. She held simple aspirations to paint, to travel simply, to write down the stories of her childhood. But she buried these gentle callings to maintain harmony, to fulfill expectations. She was by all measures a good person, strong, selfless, and respectable. But in the final chapter of her story, there was one question that echoed more loudly than all others. What would my life have looked like if only I had allowed myself to be me? You see, this final ache is not about a specific event. It is about one's very way of being. It's about a life lived out of alignment with your own deepest nature. And here is why this is so vitally important for you to hear right now. It is not too late. You still have the opportunity to write a chapter that is completely, beautifully, and unapologetically your own. But it begins with a single, clear decision to stop living according to another's map. Now, I know what your mind may be saying, but I have responsibilities. I have limitations of body and of circumstance. I cannot just do anything I wish. And you are right, none of us can do everything. But every single one of us can do something. Something true, something aligned with our spirit, something that awakens the part of you that may have been dormant for years. So here is what I invite you to do today. 1. On a piece of paper, write down one thing that feels deeply true for you, but that you have been setting aside. Perhaps it is a creative impulse. Perhaps it is a heartfelt conversation you know you must have. Perhaps it's a spiritual practice you have drifted away from. Whatever it is, write it down. Bring it from the shadow into the light. 2. Take one small, intentional step toward it in the next 24 hours. Send the message. Make the inquiry. Open the book. Walk through the door, because motion creates momentum, and momentum forges a new way of being. And please, listen with your heart. You are not too old. Your time has not passed. And you have not missed your defining moment. You have simply been preparing. And now, it is time to step onto the stage of your own life. Not with a need for perfection, but with a simple, quiet presence. Not to prove your worth to anyone, but to become a person that your own spirit can be proud of. If you are a person of prayer, now is the time to pray with conviction. Not just for comfort, but for clarity. For the inner strength to follow your truth. For the courage to become the person the universe created you to be. Not the person the world conditioned you to be, because the life force never retires your purpose. It simply seeks to reignite it in a new season. And every season has its own profound significance, if you choose to see it that way. Now, I want to offer you a challenge. Yes, you who are watching and listening, it is a chance to make a quiet declaration. Write it in the space below right now. From this day forward, I will walk a path that is true to myself. Let this be a seed you plant in the world. Let your future self see this commitment. Because if you do not claim your own path, a sense of regret surely will. If you wish to live a life free from this deep unease, you must release the need for others' expectations and begin to live in harmony with what matters most to your own soul. You do not want to find yourself at 85, sitting by a window, watching the wind in the leaves, and wondering what your life could have been if only you had chosen your true self. So, here is your choice. Return to what is familiar or step forward into what is true. And if you are still here, present with this message, I want to say this from my heart. You are already ahead of the great majority. You are listening, you are reflecting, and you are awakening. And that means your story is far from complete. Your true beginning is now. Live your truth today, so you do not have to whisper your regrets tomorrow. Do not forget to like, subscribe, and comment. I choose my true path. If you feel ready, and always remember, the world is still in need of your truest self. I invite you to explore my other reflections. I will see you in the next one.